Martha Callahan was a 68-year-old widow known for her warm smile, quiet evenings, and perfectly trimmed roses. Dennis Clay was a 34-year-old drifter with a criminal past and a deadly charm. Their secret affair shocked a peaceful town and ended with a body in the basement, a forged will, and a killer on the run. This is the chilling story of how trust turned into terror and how one woman's search for companionship became the perfect cover for a calculated crime. In the heart of Elmridge, a peaceful town known for its close-knit community and annual flower festivals, lived Martha Callahan, a 68-year-old widow who spent her days tending to her rose garden and volunteering. At the local library, everyone in town described Martha as gentle, polite, and harmless. After the death of her husband, Harold, a retired postman, Martha had withdrawn slightly but still maintained her soft smile and warm presence. Her home on Greenwood Lane was a small white cottage with ivy climbing the walls, lace curtains, and the scent of lavender always drifting from the porch. Most believed Martha was simply living out her twilight years in solitude. But behind the garden gates and cozy windows, Martha was hiding a startling secret. For nearly a year, she had been involved in a secret affair with a much younger man, a relationship that not only shocked investigators later, but ultimately led to her untimely death. She never spoke of this relationship to friends or family. There were no photos, no calls overheard. It was hidden with precision, as though she knew from the beginning it could destroy her. The first time anyone noticed something strange was during a rainy evening in early spring. A neighbor, Mrs. Bauer, spotted a man slipping through Martha's backyard gate just before midnight. He wore a brown coat and a ball cap, his face barely visible, and he left less than 20 minutes later. Soon, the man became a regular, always arriving late at night, never staying long, and always avoiding the front of the house. His car, an old blue sedan with no plates, was seen parked down the block. Local gossip described him as the handyman, based on what Martha had told curious passers-by. But no tools were ever seen, no repairs were being made. The man's name, as it turned out, was Dennis Clay, 34 years old, with a criminal record that included identity theft, assault, and elder abuse in 2 counties. He had spent time in low-security prisons and was known for using multiple aliases. He met Martha at the public library during one of her volunteer shifts, posing as an aspiring author writing a memoir about childhood loss. He charmed her with tales of abandonment, poetry, and tragedy. He complimented her handwriting, her eyes, her kindness, and Martha, who hadn't felt noticed in years, was slowly pulled in. Over the next few months, Dennis began staying over occasionally, especially during storms. He told her he had no family, that he was estranged from everyone, that she was his only anchor. Martha began withdrawing more. She stopped attending book clubs, she missed a few church services, and she no longer returned calls from her sister in Chicago. By summer, Martha's bank reported a series of unusual activity: large ATM withdrawals in nearby towns, transfers to unknown accounts, and purchases of high-end electronics from online retailers, none of which matched her prior habits. A bank representative tried calling Martha, but she insisted everything was fine. She blamed the spending on gifts for her niece's wedding, though she had no niece. Around this time, several people reported hearing strange sounds coming from her house. Loud crashes, sudden yelling, then silence. One neighbor claimed they heard crying late at night but assumed Martha was watching TV too loud. What no one knew was that Dennis had begun pressuring her. He said he owed dangerous men money and that they had threatened to harm them both. He told her that only she could help him get out of this life. Police would later discover that Dennis was forging checks, transferring ownership of her car, and using her identity to open a second credit line. On October 19th, the neighbor next door, June Palmer, heard what she described as thudding, like something being dragged downstairs, followed by a loud slam. She knocked on the door. No answer. The lights were off. Everything seemed normal by morning. It was the last day anyone ever saw Martha alive. As days passed, the signs of trouble multiplied. Mail overflowed in the mailbox. Her garden dried out. Her library shifts were abandoned. Snowy, her beloved, white cat meowed constantly from the window, appearing thinner by the day. Concerned neighbors contacted the authorities. When officers arrived and received no response, they obtained a warrant to enter the home. Inside, the scene was eerie and undisturbed, like time had frozen. The TV was still on, paused on an old black-and-white movie. A half-drunk cup of tea sat cold on the kitchen table, but the air smelled stale, with something rotting beneath it. Downstairs in the basement, behind a cabinet, they discovered her body, wrapped in an old floral bedsheet, tucked into a large plastic storage bin. Her skull had been fractured by a heavy blow, likely caused by a brass floor lamp found nearby. There were no signs of forced entry. The back door was left slightly ajar, and muddy footprints led out into the garden. Forensics confirmed Dennis's. Fingerprints on multiple surfaces, including the lamp, her checkbook, and even the cat food bowl. On the dining table sat a scrapbook, open to a photo of Dennis and Martha, one of the only pictures of them together. Next to it was a note, in Martha's handwriting. "For once, I feel like I'm living, not just surviving." Just when detectives thought the mystery was solved, a disturbing new detail emerged. A copy of Martha's will, updated just 3 weeks before her death, had been filed with a local notary. In it, she had removed all references to her family and instead named Dennis Clay as her sole beneficiary. But handwriting analysts determined that the signature was forged. The notary, when questioned, admitted that she had never witnessed the signing. The paperwork had been mailed in, which was highly unusual. Further digging revealed that a woman named Lillian Norwood from a town 40 miles away had died mysteriously the previous year. Lillian was 72, also a widow, and had transferred her home and assets to a man she called James. That man's photo matched Dennis Clay. Her death had been ruled accidental. She had fallen down the stairs. But now, police reopened her case. Dennis Clay was now believed to be a serial predator, preying on isolated elderly women, building romantic trust, draining their finances, and leaving before suspicion set in, sometimes leaving bodies behind. Despite nationwide alerts, facial recognition attempts, and financial tracking, Dennis vanished. The trail went cold. Some believe he left the country. Others whisper that he assumed a new identity and began again. Occasionally, people claim they've seen someone like him at late hours in gas stations or diners. But nothing has ever been confirmed. Martha's home was eventually sold. Snowy the cat was adopted by a local teacher. But her story remains a chilling warning. Even in the quietest corners of the world, danger can grow in silence, fed by trust and cloaked in love.